Hey explorers, it's time to open your social studies book. The cover of the book looks just like the picture on this slide. And we go through this book, I'm going to be reading aloud some of the pages, and you get to pretend that you're going on a trip to visit lots of these places around the world. Now that you have your social studies book, I'd like you to open to page 2. You should see these pictures on page 2. Today we're going to talk about where people live. And at the top it says, people live in many different kinds of homes. What kind of home do you live in? This first one down here says, do you live in a house in a town? A town is a place that has streets and houses where people live. There are usually also different stores where people can shop in a town. In this next one, it says, do you live in an apartment in the city? A city is a place with many streets and many buildings where lots of people live. The buildings in a city are usually larger and taller than a house. Cities also have different stores where people can shop, usually more stores than you would find in a town. So if you look at the house and the apartment building, generally in a house, you have one family. So maybe there's a mom and a dad, maybe 2 kids, maybe 3 or 4 kids. But in an apartment building, you have lots of families living together. All right, let's look down here. It says, do you live on a farm in the countryside? A farm is a place with lots of land that is used for growing plants and raising animals that can be eaten as food. And a countryside is a place where there is lots of land and open space, where houses are not close together or next to one another. You can find farms in the countryside. Over here it says, do you live in a houseboat on a river? A river is a large stream of flowing fresh water. After hearing about these different places that people live, I want you to think about where you live. Do you live in a town? Do you live in a city? Do you live in a countryside where farms and houses are spaced farther out? Or do you happen to live on a river or on the water? Think about that. And then think about, have you ever taken a trip to a place that's different from the place where you live? So let's say you live in a house in a town, and maybe, like Wake Forest, maybe you've taken a trip to New York City, where there's lots of cars and really tall buildings. So think about where you live and then compare it to a place that you've visited that looks very, very different. I also want you to think about why people live in so many different kinds of homes. Why do you think? Well, there are so many different kinds of homes to live in because people are different and like different things. The world is not the same everywhere, so the kinds of homes in which people live are often different based on where in the world they live. So some people might like to live in the countryside where there's lots of land and space, and some people like to live in the city where there's lots of things to do and lots of people surrounding them. Now I'd like you to turn to page 3. That's this one right over here next to page 2. And listen as I read to you in this page. It says you may live in a neighborhood like this. So right here you see some houses and there's lots of people and it looks like they're hanging out and having a really nice time. Perhaps you play outside with your friends. A neighborhood is a part of a town or city where people live near one another. Cities have many different neighborhoods. So you guys probably live in a neighborhood like this in Wake Forest or Roseville or Raleigh. Down here it says you probably live in a United States state. A state is an area or place much larger than a neighborhood. Do you guys know what state we live in? Well, hopefully you guys said North Carolina. Now, a state is a specific area within a country, and lots of neighborhoods, towns, cities, and large areas of countryside make up a state. Did you know that the United States has 50 states? And look at this, says welcome to Texas. Texas is one of the states, just like North Carolina, where we live. Down here, it also says that we live in a country. A country is a place with a government and laws for all the people who live there. Countries have names. Do you know the name of the country we live in? I hope you said the United States. Good job if you did. If you didn't, that's okay. You learned it now. The country we live in is the United States of America. Now, I want to go back to for a moment. It says a country is a place with a government. That's a really big word. Let me explain what government is. Government is a group of people who make rules and decisions for a country, a state, or a city. So they're helping us out by making rules and decisions that help lead us. Now, it also talks about a country as a place with a government and laws. Let me explain what laws are. Laws are rules made by the government. Many laws are meant to keep people safe, such as the law that requires people to wear seatbelts in cars. And we all know how important that is. All right, boys and girls, to try to help you understand this a little bit better, I thought I'd draw you or show you a diagram. So here is a picture of a house. We all live in some kind of a house. Could be an apartment building, could be a townhouse, could be a house similar to this, but we all live in a home. So here's our home right here, and I've put it inside this circle. Now, our house is located inside of a neighborhood, town, or city. So here I have a picture of a town because our home could be located inside of a town. But our town and our home would be located inside of a state. For us, that's the state of North Carolina. So first we have our house, which is located inside of a neighborhood, town, or city, which is located inside of, for us, the state of North Carolina, which is located in the United States of America. So again, we have our house, which is located inside of a town, which is located inside of a state, which is located inside of a country. So that's basically how this whole thing comes together. I hope you guys learned a lot and started thinking about where we live and where other people live. And the next page is going to show you the workbook page that you're going to work on today. On this worksheet, which should be in your packet, I want you to think about your home and a picture of the building where you live. So if you live in a house, I want you to draw your house and the details surrounding it. So maybe you live in a neighborhood and you want to draw some of the other houses. Or maybe you live in an apartment building or a townhome, and so you have other families that live in your building as well. Think about where you live and try to draw it. So if your house is white, make it white. If it's red, make it red. If the front door is black, make your front door black. Think about the details. Do you have trees growing? Do you have grass? Is there a parking lot nearby? Do you have friends outside playing? Do you have a basketball hoop in your driveway? I want you to pay attention to lots of details about where you live, and I want you to add that to this page. Have lots of fun and enjoy drawing.